Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Toy Review Thursday, and this week I'm going to be doing a rather special Toy Review Thursday. We're going to be taking a look at rocks as toys. Now you might be thinking, rocks? How can that possibly be a toy? Well, it can be if the toy is Rock Lords. So let's take a look at these crazy toys and see what can be so fun about a rock.
Rock Lord, rocks come alive, Rock Lord, fighting, surviving rock with strength and might, rising up to crash and fight. Rock Lord, powerful living rock. You control their appearance, but no force in the universe can contain the power and the fury of Rock Lord. Shaking, quaking, crashing, breaking, Rock Lord, powerful living rock. So separately viewed from Tonka.
Hey guys, welcome back for another Toy Review Thursday, and this week we're going to be taking a look at the Rock Lords by Tonka that came out in 1986. Let's take a look at some of the good guys. We have Boulder, the leader of the Rock Lords. Granite, a happy-go-lucky second-in-command to Boulder. Marbles, he has psychic powers. Crackpot, kind of a goofy off-the-wall but ferocious warrior. Pulverize, resourceful and strong with a quick temper. Nugget, who's kind of like comic relief for the good Rock Lords, kind of like Snarf or something like that. And here we have the bad guys. We have the leader of the evil Rock Lords, Magmar. Tombstone, his second-in-command. Sticks and Stones, the two-headed juggernaut of the evil Rock Lord. And we have Brimstone, the scheming architect. And Slimestone, who enjoys shooting oil that's impossible to get off his enemy. And then we have two unreleased bad Rock Lords, Spearhead and Saberstone. These were mainly released as prototypes and had a very limited production run. So now we also had the Rockosaurs. And this was a line of Rock Lords that only came out from the movie. So here we have Terra Rock, the pterodactyl Rock Lord, and Spikestone, a Triceratops Rock Lord. Now let's take a look at some of the vehicles. There were only two vehicles that ever came out for the Rock Lord series. The first is the Stone Wing, which transforms into a land cruiser and a plane. And then we have the Rock Pot, which is mainly used for the good Rock Lords, where it's kind of an all-terrain battle cruiser for all of your figures. Okay, let's take a look at the playsets for the Rock Lords. There was only one, but it was never released, called Stonehead. And that's because after the third season, the toy line had already been canceled, so it never came into production. Now, there was also a Rock Lords movie released alongside of the toy line in 1986 called GoBots Battle of the Rock Lords.
GoBots, Battle of the Rock Lords.
Now we have them. There'll be no miraculous escape this time.
We've got the Guardians by surprise!
GoBots, defenders of the universe, meet their greatest challenge.
One command center going in alone might be able to get around their scanners and defenses.
From across the depths of intergalactic space come the last survivors of a once proud people, the Rock Lords. Solitaire and Nugget seek the mighty GoBots and enlist their help in a desperate mission to save their doomed planet.
I'll handle this.
Solitaire!
You asked for it.
Psyche and Magma unite. Their goal is to rule the universe.
Don't do it!
Smash those rocks.
it looks like the end for the GoBots as the merciless enemy close in for the kill.
Alright, so now let's move on to some of the later figures that were released later in the Rock Lord's life. The Jewel Lords. We have the leader of the Jewel Lords, Solitaire, in a nice blue aquamarine color. Flamestone, the second in command of the Jewel Lords, in a nice deep red, kind of like a ruby. And Sunstone, the bruiser of the Jewel Lords. Now, there were also Fossil Lords that were released later on in the Rock Lords series. And there was 4: Ribcage, Jawbone, Hipbone, and Tailbone. Now, you could combine the 4 of these together, and they would form the mighty Rockosaurus Rex, which, that's pretty cool. I think that's a neat figure. And almost finally, in the Rock Lord's life, you have Action Shock Rocks. Now, these were figures that had an action feature, like Stone Hook, who has a grappling hook that you could extend and it would pull him up and retract. Rock Shot, whose arm was spring-loaded and would throw a rock on a string. Rock Roller, who you would pull back and then he would zip across a flat surface. And Blast Rock, who had a button on the back that when you pushed, his guns would pop out on the side. And that was also the same for Dragonstone, who just happens to be a dragon. And Stunstone. So they kind of all look like spaceships, which is pretty neat. I think they were tanks or ships that could fly. And finally, you had the Gnarlies that were released. And what the Gnarlies were rocks that were took the shapes of animals like elephants, bats, and hippos, and they were led by their leader, the Snarly King, and they would fight both the good Rock Lords and the evil Rock Lords, so they were a third party introduced later on.
Alright, so I'm going to take a look at some of my Rock Lords that I have here. I have 7 different Rock Lords. Tombstone, Nugget, Crackpot, Stoneheart, Brimstone, Terra Rock, and Granite. So you can see this is what they look like in their rock form. Tombstone aptly looks like a tombstone. Nugget I think is really cool because he's really shiny, so kind of, you know, to look like a piece of gold, like a gold nugget. Crackpot, I don't really get the name. Stoneheart, very nice. Brimstone's interesting, as you can see on the front. He has like kind of like a cat-like face or a demon face, so you know, really crazy that a rock would have a face on it. Terra Rock is also nice. This is one of the better rock-shaped Rock Lords. Really nice round rock, and very large too, much more substantial than a lot of the other ones. And probably my personal favorite out of the group, just because I like how he transforms in his rock mode, is Granite. Kind of Boulder's second command, but we'll go into him a little bit later. So, one thing that I think is neat about these, and was probably also the downfall of the line and why they didn't do so well. I remember playing with these a little bit as a kid, but they're just kind of dangerous in nature. Like, if you know anything about lawn darts or anything like this, I'm sure there were cases maybe filed against Tonka or for, like, you know, kids' safety. I mean, if you have something like this, what do you think a kid's gonna do with it? They're probably, you know, beating each other with these rocks, and I have a feeling that's probably something not too talked about as to why the Rock Lords, you know, a lot of their play sets and things never went into production. I think it's just maybe the toys started getting a bad name. So here, let's take a look at Tombstone first. We'll give him a transform. And his legs fold out here. Arms come out to the side. I like how he actually has, not all of them have little bendable arms. And looks pretty cool there. Kind of looks like a dinosaur. And he's one of the evil Rock Lords that would be under Magmar's control. And here we have Nugget. Pretty much the same thing. Legs, I believe these are his legs here, yep. Legs pop out. It's kind of hard to tell because he's all so shiny. Little arms come out. And Nugget was kind of like the sidekick of the good Rock Lords. Kind of like a Snarf, you know, on the Thundercats, or the Orko to, you know, He-Man. And he has a little jetpack on the bottom that when you go to open his faceplate, that automatically extends, which is kind of cool. So there's Nugget. He wants to stand for us. There we go. And now we have Crackpot, which I find it interesting that in a lot of toys from the 80s, like when I did my Mad Balls review, you had Crackhead. So I don't get why a lot of these like kind of derogatory names were used, or maybe, I don't know, maybe people are just too sensitive now. You know, maybe it was just a fun, kind of cool name. But Crackpot is one of the good Rock Lords, and he has nice little sturdy feet that flip out, so you can stand him up there. So let's move these guys to the side, and we'll move on to the other Rock Lords in the back there. We have Terra Rock here, which he's one of the Fossil Lords. And he's much, much, much larger and a little bit more complicated to transform. You gotta bring the feet out and then bring them back up. So they're kind of kept in this little compartment here. He kind of has little stumpy legs. And then what's really cool about him is he has wings that you actually pull out from the side. There's a little tab right here. And he's kind of like a pterodactyl, therefore the name Terra Rock. The tail flips out, and check him out. He's like a pterodactyl, dragon, rock lord, or fossil lord, I'm sorry, I should say, but it looks really cool with the wings, really nicely designed. You can see the rib cage, so, you know, he's supposed to be a dinosaur, as you can see his fossilized bones. Very cool. And then we got Brimstone here. And Brimstone is actually one of the easiest to transform. It's funny how you always say transform, no matter what type of transforming toy it was from the 80s, whether it's a GoBot or a Transformer, how that term, you know, was just kind of coined by the Transformers. And as you can see, his face, you know, stays the same, except for now you can see his teeth come out. Okay, so that is Brimstone. Let's take a look at Stoneheart now. Poor guy is a heart of stone. Probably just needs a date, needs a girlfriend. And again, we got the little flip out feet, which I'm really glad on a lot of these that they put in on them, because makes it much easier for them to stand up. And another little interesting, it's fallen over, interesting feature about Stoneheart here, come on buddy, stay up, is with his mouth, it's actually serrated. So you can actually kind of put your finger on there, and you can really feel the little teeth that are in there, which are really neat. And he's one of the bad Rock Lords, and this is Granite, one of my personal favorites, probably because he was the first Rock Lord that I had. So you just flip his feet out and around. There we are. Had him backwards there for a second. And his arms come down. I like the hands, the way they look, the big mitts. And then this gets stuck sometimes. You just pop his head up. Hang on. There we go. You just pop the head up like that. What do you expect for a 30-year-old toy? They get a little stiff. And there he is. Nice blue face. And he reminds me of, like, from another line. I can't quite place it. He kind of reminds me of, like, those other transforming rocks from the He-Man line. So this is my little collection right here. Not too bad. I particularly am quite fond of the Rock Lords line. I just think they were a really creative transforming line of toys when you had GoBots and every other knockoff of Transformers and everything that you could possibly imagine. I think it was an attempt that, in the long run, it may have failed. It was really creative, and you know, I gotta give them points for that, for creating a whole universe, you know, around this planet of rocks, and you know, battling and stuff, you know, so I think it's a really cool toy line. So, you know, let me know what you think, guys. Comment, and let's chat it up down in the comments, and hope you like the Rock Lords as much as I do.
Hey guys, if you like the video that you just watched, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. And if you do the Facebook or Twitter thing, follow me at #KingOfRetro. See you next time.